Welcome back, and let's jump straight into this episode. First up, getting the ruined bodywork back into tip-top condition. Now for those new to this series, you might be thinking, they don't look that bad, but let's look back at episode 1. They are broken, twice as thick as they should be with the amount of filler and layers of paint on them, and on top of that, it's completely the wrong colour scheme for this model of bike. But all of that can be fixed. Now, let's crack on with it. So what are we all thinking? Keep the blues green or ditch it? Now to remove all the layers of paint, I'm going to do something which should never ever be done unless you know exactly what you're dealing with. And since I know what these panels are made of, and I know the paint is a mile thick, which gives me a bit of wiggle room, I'm going to use my paint stripper, as sanding these panels back to bare would take forever. And again, don't ever try this on panels you care about. And while the paint stripper is dissolving the panels, I mean paint, I'll start the disassembly of the fuel tank. Well, that was easy to take apart. Now, let's get it coated with paint stripper. There's so much paint on here, even my super ultra lethal paint stripper is struggling to break through it. This is going to be a long day. Judging from all the turquoise and orange showing up on the panels, I think someone may have been going for the 1999 Fireblade look. What do you think? Since the tank is steel, I decided to save a bit of elbow grease and break out the power tools. I've gone as far as I can with the paint stripper, but now I need to use the sander to remove the last of the paint and filler, otherwise I risk melting the plastic beyond repair. Well, the panels are all sanded back to bare and cleaned, and curiously the lower fairings are fiberglass and all the uppers are ABS plastic. Now to repair the damaged areas. Luckily, only one side of the fairing is broken, so I can use it as a template. A little glue is used to hold the repair in place till I can plastic weld it. Since this area of fairing is very delicate, I need to make sure that the repair is as strong as it can possibly be. So I'm going to be melting a fine mesh into the plastic to provide reinforcement, and then I will melt some new ABS plastic on top of that, inside and out, and we should have a very strong repair that can be shaped and moulded and look totally invisible. It's not pretty at the moment, but it's in one piece and nice and strong again. Now, let's get the other plastic repairs done, then we can make them look pretty again. And after a bit of shaping, this broken panel now fits a treat again. Well, with the missing plastic now replaced on the other panels, I've only got a couple of small cracks to fix on the seat fairing. So I'll just fast forward a bit on that repair, as it only requires a few stitches to fix, which you've seen me do before. With that done, I can now move on to the bodyworking stage. First, I'm applying a flexible plastic filler to smooth out the repairs. They will then be sanded down, cleaned and loaded into the spray booth for a nice coat of primer. Some of you may remember I was on the fence about using this carbon fibre mudguard for the sake of originality, but I've decided to use it but paint it white so that it looks OEM but I still get the benefits of the carbon fibre. With the primer cured, I can now flat it back so it's smooth with no imperfections. Clean all the panels with panel wipe and then give them all a nice coat of Ross white. Now I need to fit all of the fairings so that I can mask off the next areas that will be painted. Cutting mats are great for flattening out decals. In order to mask up the panels, I need some reference points, and that's where fitting a few of the decals first comes in very handy. Fine lining done, now it's on to the standard masking, which you've seen me do a million times, so I'm going to jump straight into the painting. These sections are being painted with fighting red. And these sections are painted with Dakar blue. Now with the colour painting done, I can finally apply the rest of the decals. One down, only another 17 to go. Now that looks awesome already. Now let's get the panels off for the final time and get them clear coated. While the clear coat is curing, let's get the rest of the bike built back up, starting with cleaning the exhaust. While the cleaner is doing its thing, I'm going to get the foot pegs cleaned up. but since it took me 5 months to track down this one, I'm not willing to risk sending it out for chroming and it ending up lost in transit, as that's just my luck these days. Now let's go and rinse the exhaust system and get it refitted. With the exhaust on, I can now get the radiators back in place. Now to replace these hideous aftermarket pegs with nice standard ones. Well, that's all the mechanical parts restored and refitted, and the shelves are pretty much bare. So now let's get the fairings back in place and call this restoration complete. I've pre-built the seat unit to save some time, as it's only a few clips holding it together. The original seat was black vinyl, but the new colour scheme calls for a red seat, so I had it reupholstered in red vinyl. And now for the final touch, fitting the information stickers and tank protector. And there we have it, the bike is fully restored and finally ready to be removed from the ramp and revealed as a whole bike again. But first, as usual, let's have a look back to the beginning to remind ourselves how far the bike has came in this series. Now at this point I know you're going to say, we demand to see it out riding. Well, I'm afraid that's not going to happen, as here in Scotland it's still winter and the roads are wet and covered in salt. So I'm afraid a road ride will have to wait for another day. So for now, a pretend ride will have to do. And as always, a massive thank you goes out to all of my patrons who support this channel and make it possible to continue with these restoration projects. So I hope you've enjoyed this series and will join me again next time to kick off another one. See you all again soon.